Jana Frejova, and I'm very excited to be speaking to you today at the Customer Marketing Conference. I started my career working for a US startup in London that got bought by Oracle. And today I'm working for Spendesk, where I'm establishing a new marketing function focused on growth. Spendesk is a B2B solution that is providing spend management to more than 3,500 companies who have managed over 8 billion euro on our platform since our inception in 2016. This year has been particularly exciting for us because in January, following our Series C extension funding, we became a unicorn. And even the French president, Emmanuel Macron, tweeted about us. So that was a real highlight of my career. But I think today you're here to listen to my talk about customers and personas rather than about myself or my company. And I think a lot of us marketers really start with personas. That's sort of our key mantra. But working at Spendesk, I worked with some top-notch product managers, and they introduced me to the job to be done framework. And it really got me thinking, are we maybe a little bit too obsessed with personas? Should they really be the starting point of our marketing activities, or should we focus more on the problems? So in this talk today, I want to go through some of the issues I see when we focus a little bit too heavily on the personas. And then I want to discuss an alternative approach, which is based around the job to be done framework. So let's start first by looking at the 4 key issues I see with the persona first approach, and I will use some examples to illustrate these points. The first problem is that by focusing on the personas and ignoring the problem, you may be actually missing the market. You may be focusing on the wrong market entirely. The best example I have come across is that of custom tobacco. So custom tobacco is selling cigars, and at first they were focusing on cigar smokers, which makes sense, right? But actually they were not getting that many orders, and they found out 2 things. Firstly, the few orders that they were getting were from event planners and people who were looking to buy gifts for cigar smokers. And secondly, that cigar smokers themselves are very brand loyal and conscious. So they actually realized focusing on cigar smokers is not really getting us anywhere. And they've started focusing and marketing to event planners and gift givers. And instead of going to cigar shows, they started going to event planning trade shows. And I think the quote by the founder, Adam Mendler, really summarizes it well. Not only were we not solving a problem for cigar smokers, but if a problem did exist, we would not be the solution. The second problem is the fact that the problem may be the only thing that the different personas have in common. A great quote here is from Matt Hodges from Intercom. And by the way, Intercom is really great and a rare example of a company using the job to be done framework for its marketing and go-to-market strategies. He's really highlighting the fact that the customers do come in all shapes and sizes and from different industries. And the one thing that they do have in common is the problem or the job to be done. When I was trying to come up with a good example of this, I had to think about my dad. You see, my dad has had the same haircut since he was born. It's a buzz cut. At first maintained by his mom, now maintained by my mom. But my dad is using hair ties, the same like I do, even though demographically we are extremely different. You see, my dad, he's still claiming that he fits into his wedding trousers 35 years on, but actually he's using the hair tie to make the waistband of the trousers a little bit more elastic because his waist and his age have sort of grown proportionally. So both me and my dad are using hair ties to tie something together. So that unites us. But if you want to come up with messaging based on our demographics, you probably would fail. The third issue is that it's the problems that help you expand. It's not the personas. If you think about a typical acquisition tactic, it's lookalike audiences when it comes to paid social. You take your existing target audience or your existing customers, and you basically try to find the same or lookalike ones. And this helps you get additional customers, but there is obviously an end to it because there is a limit to how many people look like your audience. And also the farther you go, the lower intent customers you're gonna get. So it becomes more expensive. On the other hand, if you try to expand using the job to be done or the problem, you actually expand the overall market rather than just get to the limit of it. A great example here is Splitwise. So Splitwise, as the name suggests, helps people to split their bills. At first, they started by focusing on flatmates. For example, if a flatmate paid an energy bill, he could use Splitwise or she could use Splitwise to share it with their flatmates. But when Splitwise started looking at where else we can expand, they didn't think of, well, what other things the flatmates need, but they thought about who else has the same job to be done or the same problem to achieve. And they realized travel companions. So by focusing on the problem, it helped Splitwise expand to a completely new market, and that is the travel market. And finally, I realized that persons actually don't think demographically, thanks to a colleague of mine. At Spendesk, one of our key personas is a budget owner. We define it as anyone who owns a budget, no matter how big or small. And when I said to my colleague, oh, you're the perfect example of budget owner, she said, oh, I don't see myself as a budget owner. That sounds way too senior for me. But once I described to her the problems and the jobs to be done that this persona is trying to achieve, she said, oh, wow, yeah, that's actually me. But this conversation made me realize, actually, if I really focus, if I really use the term budget owner, I'm actually excluding the very people I'm trying to target. And even if you think about how you Google things, like you don't Google solution for budget owner, but you Google, I need to create a budget or I need to track a budget. So you really look for your solution in terms of the job to be done or the problem you have. So these are the 4 key problems I see. The first one is if you don't focus on the problem, you may be actually focusing on the wrong market entirely. The second one is the problem may be the only thing that a lot of different personas have in common. So it's a lot easier for you to market to them around the problem rather than around them demographically. The third one is if you focus on the persona, you're actually looking at a limited market, but if you focus on the problem, this really helps you expand beyond where you are today. And the fourth one is that personas don't think demographically, they think in terms of problems and jobs to be done. There are also other issues I have come across, but these are really the 4 key ones that I see.